Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Thoughts by J. Brown live stream. Today, I'm going to go over the political compass test. I'm going to share my previous results with it, as well as a host of other things. Let me just switch over to studio mode for a second, and switch that Firefox properties. There we go. All right. So the political compass test is just that. It lines you on an XY axis graph. I'll show you my previous results. That would allow you to. That allows you to see where you align. You don't actually. It's not a hard and fast predictor. It's not a hard and fast model of anything, but it is, it is a good gauge of where you would be at. So, let's go and check this out. So, let's transition over and get out of transition over to that. Let's get out of that. And let me bring up my last results. So, as you can see, the red dot is where I align, left libertarian. A lot of people find that weird because a lot of people seem to think that I would be a little bit more progressive, but I'm not. I'm progressive on here, and unfortunately, my cursor won't show where it specifically is. I don't think, since my cursor won't show where exactly it is, because for whatever reason on here it doesn't like to capture my mouse all that well. So, but this is just, like I said, this is where I previously landed on it, and I'm going to take the test again. So, with the chat back up, well, hold on just a second, let's go back to this, close that out, pull the chat back up, and let's minimize that. Okay, let's take the test. So there's 6 pages to the test. Actually, let me go back and explain. Let you read and I'll explain what they say. Welcome. It's timely to stress that the political compass has been on the internet since 2001. The uniqueness of our take on politics is reflected in the gratifying, enthusiastic reviews we've enjoyed in the national media of many countries from our earliest years, as well as from many teachers and academics who continue to use our work. Read more about our work here, the test, podcasts. So, let's go on. So, page 1 of 6. Just a few propositions to start with, concerning no less than how you see the country and the world. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interest of transnational corporations. I would agree with that. I could also not strongly disagree, but I could also disagree with that as well. There are things that could be done on both sides of it, but I'm going to go with agree. I'd always support my country whether it was right or wrong. I disagree. Defining what's right and wrong is not as simple as black or white. It's not, this is right, this is wrong, hard and fast. If I served in the military during World War II, I would like to think that I would oppose the Japanese internment camps. If I was in Germany, I'd like to think that I would have left and protested and fought in some sort of resistance group, but be that as it may. No one chooses his or her country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. Strongly disagree. Being proud of who you are, what your nationality is not a bad thing. Being proud of your country of origin is not a bad thing. It's only recently that we tried to make it a bad thing, that we should just be a globalist human species. But there's so many differences in cultures that it's I'm not going to say that we can't eventually get there, but it is uniquely hard for us to tear down walls that have been festering for all of humanity. Our race has many superior qualities compared to other races. Strongly disagree. Hold on just a second, guys. Okay, sorry, we're back at it here. Our race has many superior qualities compared to other races. No. Race is not a hard and fast. Let me rephrase that. Race is not a deciding factor in many things. So, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That one, I'll disagree with. It's one of those things. It's a case by case basis. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. I'm going to disagree with that. And the reason why I'm choosing disagree versus strongly disagree is that there are so many military actions that are undertaken by almost every country that has a military that defies international law some way or somehow. You have to really define what you mean by international law. You know, when it comes to when it comes to when it comes to when it comes to invading a country because of a despotic dictator, is that justified? It could be. Does it mean that the government we install after that is going to be more just or going to be better? No. But at the same time, that would defy international law. It's just, but the act in and of itself, just because it's a gray area, so that is what it is. So uh, there's now a worrying fusion of information in entertainment. I would agree with that. The the worrying fusion of information and entertainment is not so much that you're necessarily going to end up with like fake news. It is that people are people are going to go to those who they think are the most entertaining, the most funny, the whatever, and are going to only listen to that side and develop their own echo chambers. And I highly suggest that you don't. If you're a fan of somebody, find out somebody who disagrees with them. Hear their side of the story. Hear their side of the arguments. Next page. Now the economy. Here we're talking attitudes. We're talking attitudes here and not the FTSE index. All right. People are ultimately divided more by class than nationality. I'm going to disagree with that. You can overcome class, especially nowadays. If you were there's the talk of the American dream is dying, and yet there are people out there that are making money hand over fist and going up in the world of class, and regardless of their nationality. The same could be said in other nations. So it's not so much class or nationality. I think both are irrelevant for the most part. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. This one's a conundrum because if you control inflation, you're going to create unemployment. But if you don't control inflation, things are going to spin out of control and you're going to still have unemployment. So I'm going to go with agree on that one. All right. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they're, they require regulation. I'm going to disagree with that. If the marketplace wills it, then the companies will do it. That's not always the case. They will go offshore and find other places that they can get away with some of the things that they can't get away with now. But the more we regulate, the more likely we are to get rid of these companies from being in our own country. Look at Nike going overseas. And all that other stuff. I mean, heck, most of the computer parts that I got are manufactured in China. So, there's that. Quote, from each according to his abilities to each according to his need is a fundamentally, end quote, is fundamentally a good idea. No. And here's why. I'm going to disagree with this. Because some people have the ability, doesn't mean that they have great ability, doesn't mean that their need is great. I've constantly said I don't agree with professional athletes making millions of dollars entertaining. I don't even think actors and actresses should make millions of dollars to entertain us. I can entertain myself just fine. But I don't but their need is not going to be as high as mine just because they have better ability, therefore they need more resources. That's not the case. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled and branded consumer product. No, it's not. People have been bottling things and slapping a brand on it and selling it for ages. They're just, when we refer to them as snake oil salesmen for the most part. But at the same time, a bottled water, it's your choice if you want to buy it. You don't have to buy it. So it's not a big deal. Now, taxing something like that, that's entirely another thing. Washington State's screwed on that. Land shouldn't be a commodity that to be bought and sold. Disagree. I should be able to buy land, work it how I see fit, use it how I see fit, as I'm the landholder. But, is there the ability to properly maintain land? Yeah. Without ownership? Yeah. I mean, heck, we've done it for thousands of years before we started conglomerating in cities and whatnot. But as soon as we start doing cities, we have to, as soon as we start gathering en masse, we have to start thinking about how to treat everybody. And everybody should be able to have their own land. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. Disagree. Here's the thing. A lot of people who make fortunes simply manipulating money and contributing nothing, they do contribute. They spend their money in the local marketplace. If you're not going to spend your money, and some of them don't spend all of their money, no, but they do spend their money in their local market. Yes, they also travel abroad and spread their wealth around. It just might not be to the degree that you think they should. That's one of my biggest issues with Ethan from Progressive Liberal. his thought that there should be no rich. There should be nobody, earning billions of dollars because they're not spreading it around to the rest of us. There you could have come up with the idea of Amazon. You could have come up with the idea of Starbucks. Your parents could have done that, etc. But they chose not to, or they didn't do it because they focused on something else in their life. It's not to say that there isn't. It's not to say that there aren't people out there that just sit there and work on inheritance and live off of that. There are those people, but it's not as many people as we all think. So protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. Protectionism, I'm assuming that to mean in the way of trade is protecting your consumer and protecting the seller. I could agree with that because if I'm selling you a bad product, you're going to want recourse. But if you're manipulating our transaction and trying to make it look like I'm a bad seller, I should be able to have protection against that. So the only societal responsibility a company should ever be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. Oh, I'll strongly disagree with that. There's plenty that companies can do to support their society, that they're in their local economies and whatnot. The rich are too highly taxed. Disagree. Could they be taxed more? Yes. Should they be taxed more? Probably. But should they be taxed to the nth degree to where they don't have a fortune? No. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of health care. Strongly disagree. I do agree in principle with universal healthcare system. Implementing that with the rest of society is, with the rest of our society here in the U.S. is a little bit of a daunting task, but it can be done. Governments should penalize businesses that mislead the public. I agree and disagree with this because it really should be the marketplace that penalizes them, not the government. Now, if the marketplace doesn't do it, like, oh, I'm getting ripped off, but that's okay, Apple, I'm looking at you, then yes, the government should come in and penalize them. But for the most part, I would disagree with this. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. I'm going to agree with this because I'm not a true laissez-faire capitalist, but I can understand why people disagree with this. I can totally get why people disagree with this. A genuine free market should be a free market, but those companies have to be held accountable. The problem is that when they start creating monopolies, they are not going to be able to be held accountable because they're the only game in town. So I mean, I agree that there has to be some sort of restrictions. The freer the market, the freer the people. Yes, again, because I am a capitalist at heart. I should be able to choose how I spend my money. I should be able to choose who I give my money to as corporations or even local mom and pop stores. So that's the end of that section. Page 3. Now I'll look at your personal social values. Abortion, when a woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. Disagree. I am all for women being able to have an abortion. Does that mean that they should have an abortion every time they get pregnant and use it almost as a birth control? And I'm not saying anyone does this, but this is a slippery slope that could be foreseen down the future. I would say no. There has to be some limitations to it, but not illegal. And I'm not saying like hard and fast rule restrictions, but hey, the doctors, with a universal healthcare, you can't just go to any old doctor. It's all going to be in a system. But you could, if you are seeing multiple doctors, it'd be like, hey, this is your fourth abortion in, however long. Maybe you should not be, having unprotected sex, that type of thing. But all in all, for the most part, I'm okay. I'm okay with the concept of abortion, regardless of whether it's a woman's life is threatened or not. All authorities should be questioned. Agreed. Does it need to be questioned 100% of the time in the sense of my boss tells me to do X, which is within my job description, and I should challenge that every time? No. It's within reason. An eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Disagree. That's what we have the legal system for. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. Disagree. We do need the arts. Now, it's not all theaters, it's not all museums, but if I come to my state and say, "Hey, I want to open up this type of museum and I need X amount of taxpayer dollars to do this," and they voted yes to support me, then yes. Now I shouldn't try to run the business model to the point where I'm going to be relying more on the taxpayers, but I should still be able to utilize the taxpayers when needed. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. Yes, it should be compulsory. People need to be educated. All people have their rights, but it's better. Oh, yeah, this one. All people have their rights, but it's better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. Strongly disagree. The only way for our societies to grow and our cultures to grow is to interact with each other. Maybe there are aspects to certain religious doctrines that are beneficial to everybody. And then there are those practices that are abhorrent to the rest of everybody but that religion. We need to show and intermingle and grow, become a melting pot, but at the same time, be respectful of other people's cultures. So, good parents sometimes have to spank their children. Now, there's a study that's come out that's been like 40 years in the making that spanking your children is not good. I haven't read the study, but I'm not going to take it at its face value for the headlines that I've read on it. I do agree, with the simple swat, but I'm not talking like a wooden spoon. I'm talking like, hand, like, enough to get the attention, not a bruise, not like cock back and just whack. I'm talking like just a little, hey, what are you thinking? Type of thing. Now, yes, we can be better about it, and it should not be the go-to punishment. It definitely should not be that go-to punishment. But if a child is repeatedly making the same mistake and trying to teach them without without them learning various punishments, taking away certain things, etc., then sometimes it's going to be needed. Sometimes you have to give a little harsher punishment than for somebody to learn. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Agree. It's natural for people to keep secrets from people. There are things that I probably don't know about my wife that she either doesn't want me to know or that I've yet to ask the right question about it. But that as a parent, you should be able to talk to your children and get them to open up. Now, there are going to be some things where they're going to make a stupid mistake and they don't want you to know about it. And if they can get away with you not knowing about it till later on in life, they're going to wait till later on in life. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. Oh, I strongly agree with that one. I don't smoke marijuana. I don't use it. I don't, do edibles or anything, but I don't see why it should be illegal. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. Another agree and disagree. It should be to educate, to help them find not just a job, but to help them be a functioning member of society. Strongly disagree. People with serious inheritable diseases should not be allowed to reproduce. No. Here's the thing. That's playing God. That's eugenics. No. Now, there are certain inheritable diseases that are genetic anyways that are passed along passively and only show up, and when they do show up, they make somebody infertile. So it it kind of does work in its own favor, but at the same time it also doesn't. So but no, I don't think people should, if they want to have children and they're capable of having children, then let them have children. I mean both physically and mentally having children. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. Disagree. They need to learn respect. They need to learn how to give respect, and they need to learn how to earn respect. And they need to know the importance of when it's important to respect somebody as a person and when it's important to respect somebody for their position in life. There are no savage and civilized peoples, there's only different cultures. I'm going to agree with this because what's savage to me might not be savage to other people. It might be what I might be perceived as savage. So it's a matter of perspective. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. I agree. Here's the thing. I understand the concept of a universal basic income and why people. I would love to have an extra, $1,000 a month that, whether it be tax or tax free, it would make my life a lot easier. But I'm willing to work to be able to earn that. If you just like, oh, here, everybody gets, $1,000 a month, no questions asked. There are going to be those people that just do not have the drive to work. They don't have the drive to try and figure something out. And $1,000 a month isn't enough to pay my bills anyways. So, but it's neither here nor there. It's just one of those things. I think that the people who work or are capable of working and refuse the opportunity should not be supported. Those that have the ability to work and are actively seeking it and still can't find work, then those are the people that need society's support. When you're in trouble, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. Disagree. You need to fight your problems head on. Now, there are times where you just need to take a break from things, and that's where the more cheerful things come in, but it's good. First generation immigrants can never fully integrate within their new country. Disagree. There are people who are progressive enough that their culture, their home culture, clashes with the new culture. They'll select the new culture and fully integrate. But it's not every one of them. But they can do it. Disagree. What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us. No. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. Disagree. I think that propping up, public access, helping prop up public access, and even asking for fees for public access too. I mean, like, I want to put on a show. Maybe I rent out the set for, $10 an hour or something like that. That's fine. But if I'm going to subsidize it, if I'm a major cable network, I should be subsidizing the ability to have those facilities. So it is one of those things. So let's move forward. And how do you see the wider society? Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. I think the reverse is starting to happen. It's now no longer counterterrorism as it is societal changes. You know, let me make sure that I am. Let me open up the watch page really quick. Mute that. Okay, so apparently I am the only one watching myself, but that's okay. We're all good here. All right. A significant advantage of the one-party state is that it avoids all arguments that delay the process in a democratic. No, disagree. The one-party state doesn't care for the people; it cares about itself. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. Strongly disagree. We all need to be worried. Death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. I can agree to that. There are humane ways to kill people and still get the message across that if you do this, you're going to die. But at the same time, I don't think that it should be for all cases. In a civil society, one must always have the people above to be obeyed and the people below to be commanded. Strongly disagree. We have to work together. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. Strongly disagree. Abstract art allows you to think and ponder what you think the meaning is. Even if you're wrong, your meaning could still have some value. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than the rehabilitation. Strongly disagree. We should try to rehabilitate criminals where we can. It's a waste of time to try and rehabilitate some criminals. I can agree with that. Repeat offenders that, if you cannot rehabilitate them, then those are the career offenders that need to stay in prison long term, not somebody who's on a pot charge. You know, a business person and the business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. Disagree. The writer and the artist allow for outlets that we don't normally have. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is homemakers. Disagree. That's for her choice. If my wife and I decide to have a kid and she decides she wants to go to work and wants me to stay at home, then I'll be the homemaker. It doesn't matter. We just have to figure out the right balance. I know there's those like Stefan Molyneux that would disagree with me on this. There are conservatives who would disagree with me on this. But I think ultimately it is the family dynamic that you want to have with your family. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant generic resources of developing countries. I wouldn't say unethically, but I do think they are exploiting. So yes, I would agree with that. It is one of those things that making peace with the establishment is the most important aspect of maturity. Disagree. Being able to make your criticisms of the establishment known without inflaming everybody, without overly emphasizing being emphatic with things, then that's a sign of maturity. You can voice your disagreements in a more positive manner or in a more succinct manner. Then I'm going to have more respect for your maturity than I am others. So if you got through that okay, then you'll find these prepositions on religion a breeze. Astrology accurately explains many things. Disagree. You cannot be moral without being religious. Strongly disagree. Charity is better than Social Security as a means of helping the generally disadvantaged. Disagree. Some people are naturally unlucky. Strongly disagree. It's important that my child's schools instills religious values. Strongly disagree. Now you're going to be questioning, why did he say that? I think charity on top of Social Security is a good way of helping. But charity by itself is not necessarily better, because charities can be run by evil people. Charities can dry up in an area for people. So, a final look at sex. Sex outside of marriage is usually moral. Disagree. Same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Strongly agree. They definitely should not be excluded from the possibility. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. Strongly agree. What goes on in the private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. Agree. I mean, if there is actual rape happening, then the state does need to be involved in prosecuting whoever it is. No one can feel naturally homosexual. Strongly disagree. These days, openness about sex has gone too far. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to agree with this on the sole fact that we are trying to prop up that children who have not hit puberty truly understand what transgenderism really is. We've made it so convoluted with these concepts that it is hard for people to find any, and I mean find any way of talking to each other without somebody being offended. And you don't even have to, it doesn't even have to be the person that I'm talking with. I could literally say that, hey, so and so, I really like this about you, yada yada yada. How dare you? And then some third person, how dare you talk to so and so that way? Don't you know that they are this, and you should treat them as this? And it's like, sorry, I was not aware that this person. Well, that doesn't matter. Ignorance is not an excuse. Yada yada yada. It is one of those things. Like I could literally say the most innocuous thing and yet be considered transphobic. I could say the most innocuous thing and could be considered homophobic, etc. And yet people who know me would try to defend me, and they would get labeled as, an ableist on this for me. So let's see where I stand. So, about the political compass. In the introduction, we explained the inadequacies of the traditional left-right line. If we recognize that this is essentially an economic line, that's fine as far as it goes. We can show, for example, that Stalin, Mao, Zedong, and Pol Pot, with their commitment to a totally controlled economy on the hard left, socialists like Mahatma Gandhi and Robert Mugabe would occupy a less extreme left position. Margaret Thatcher would be well over to the right, but further still would be someone like the ultimate free marketer, General Pinochet. The ideals of the economics, but the social dimension that deals with the economics, but the social dimension is also important in politics. That's the one where the mere left-right scale doesn't adequately address. So we have added one range in positions from extreme authoritarianism to extreme libertarianism. So this is what they're talking about. This is not where I'm at. This is just them drawn out. Both the economic dimension and the social dimension are important factors for proper political analysis. By adding a social dimension, you can show that Stalin was an authoritarian leftist over here, i.e., the state is more important than the individual, and that Gandhi believed in the supreme value of each individual is a left liberal, while the former involves state-imposed arbitrary collectivism in the extreme top left. On the extreme bottom left is voluntary collectivism at regional level with no state involved. Hundreds of such anarchist communities exist in Spain during the Civil War period. You can also put Pinochet, who is prepared to sanction mass killing for the sake of a free market, on the far right, as well as the hardcore authoritarian position. On the non-social side of things, you can distinguish someone like Milton Friedman, who is anti-state for fiscal rather than social reasons, from Hitler, who wanted to make the state stronger, even if he wiped out half of humanity in the process. The chart also makes it clear that, despite popular perceptions, the opposite of fascism is not communism, but anarchism, i.e. liberal socialism, and that the opposite of communism, i.e. the entirely state-planned economy, is neoliberalism, extreme deregulated economy. So here you go. So Gandhi's over here, Stalin's up over here, Hitler's actually over here. Socialists. Um, Margaret Thatcher's here, Milton Friedman. Here. So, the usual understanding of anarchism as a left-wing ideology does not take into account neoliberalism, anarchism, which is championed by the likes of Ayn Rand, Milton Friedman, and America's Libertarian Party, which couples social Darwinian right-wing economics with liberal positions on most social issues. Yada yada yada. You can read through this. A word about the neocons and neolibs, neoconservatives, with their commitment to high military spending and global assertion of national values, tend to be more authoritarian by the hard right. By contrast, neoliberals oppose much of the moral leadership, and especially the ensuing demands on the taxpayer, belong to a further right but less authoritarian region. Paradoxically, the free market, in the neocon parlance, also allows for a large-scale subsidy of military-industrial complex, yada yada. My political compass, I've actually moved a little right. So let's see here. Save image. Let's go store it here. And let's select same note 2. Oh, let's make that 02. I'll resave the other one. Alright, now over to Studio. Add image. Two. Browse. Open. Okay. Now let's see if I can get them both on the screen together. About the right size. Let's see if I can. Split those. All right. And let's put you down below here. And put you below that too. All right. So as you can see, I have actually moved further right. And I think that is mainly because I've looked at the way that the social justice movements have gone on, and let me transition me back into here. So I think that you could say that it is because I'm not as woke as people think I should be, in the sense that I'm not all for the social justice agenda. So this has been interesting. This has been fun, and I hope you enjoyed it. This is probably one of my favorite activities to do. Spending time talking about, you know, spending time talking about politics and talking about the the ideologies of people. I mean, going back, let me go back to that screen here. It looks like I'm on the exact same line. 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth line. A little bit above the fifth line here, and just a smidge below. The political compass, if I turn those off. Let's switch that. So, as you can see here, economic left right, I'm pretty centered at only half a or less than one line over. Whereas on the previous one, when I pull those back up here, I was one, two, three, about three and a half ish over. So, I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing about me is that really willing to, I'm really willing to go out there and answer these types of things. Like I said, link for this is down below, Political Compass. And I hope that you guys enjoy um, doing it. Oh, I almost forgot about this. Let me turn this off. Transition. Join 25. Join 27 characters of your characters. Yada yada yada. Here's how you can help us. Donate. I thought it was going to give me something else, but I forgot about it. Never mind. Let's go to the certificate page. Let's see what that's like. J. Get printable certificate. Okay, now that's kind of cool, actually. Oh, I'm so saving this. All right. Now that I got that saved for you guys, I think I'm going to call it. You guys have a great night. Enjoy your day, and go give this a whirl. It's pretty fun. Have a great night.